right, fellas, go ahead and finish off in the NBA. Last night, we got a pretty good early season matchup between two contenders. The Milwaukee Bucks moved to 9-4 on the year, where they win over the Dallas Mavericks by a score of 112-109. Giannis led the way for the Bucks, scoring 31 points in 30 minutes, but was he disastrous? 1 of 10 from the line. The Mavs had their star duo of Doncic and Porzingis out there, who combined for 43 points, but it wasn't quite enough, and the loss pushes the Mavericks back to 6-5. So, Drink, what'd you think of the action? Does anything jump out so far about either team?
Well, I mean, obviously, you said it in the lead-in. The MVP out here, just ice cold from the free throw line. And listen, this ain't just 1 for 10. Yeah, that's a stat line for the whole night. But let's talk about the ones in the fourth quarter. Like, yo, that ain't it, man. Like, I like how media and fans pick and choose when something is it and it's not. Because if that was LeBron James going 1 for 10 from the free throw line, it would be the leading story everywhere. Like, oh my God, look how horrible this is. He's supposed to be the GOAT, and oh, he can't shoot free throws. But then you got Giannis, you know, back-to-back MVP, all this other good stuff, and we're not hitting MVP. We can't hit free throws. What are we doing? This MVP shit, but I'm sorry, this MVP stuff, but we can't hit free throws. So I don't understand it. That's the biggest point that came out last night. Now, overall for the game, as I watched this game, I thought to myself, this Bucks team, and I understand we early in the season, but they got to get a lot better if they want to compete for the East. I ain't talking about competing for the title. I'm talking about competing for the East. Like that performance last night, it was cool for early season, but that can't be going on in the next 2 months. You're not beating the Nets with that. You're going to struggle with the Celtics with that. You might struggle with Miami again with that. That's not it. I'm sorry, that wasn't it last night. Because Drew Holiday, I got it. You gave up way too much for Holiday to be milling around like he was last night. Yeah, I just expected more. And then let's go over to Dallas last night. You know, Luka, I thought he played well. Porzingis, like, when will we get a fully healthy Porzingis ever in his NBA career? Like, I'm talking New York, now I'm talking Dallas. This guy just stays hurt too much. I mean, he's gonna have to go do some calf raises, something. He got to put some meat on the bones. Clearly, this whole Kevin Durant diet he got ain't working for him. It might work for Durant, it ain't working for him. All right, we're gonna have to put some meat in the diet. We're gonna have to put some pork in there. I don't do something, but my man, you just too frail. That's just the bottom line. You're really, really fragile. And Luka is starting to look at him like, can I depend on this guy? Like, really, can I depend on this guy when I need him? Because he's out of the picture a lot. And then last night he came in, he played okay, but you need more from your second guy. If we beat up on Chris Middleton for what he don't give Giannis from time to time, you got to start talking about what Porzingis is not giving Doncic from time to time. This is supposed to be this upcoming duo. That's not going to get it done. You won't even make the playoffs keep playing like that this year because it is very, very competitive in that West. And this not that. What I seen last night is not a playoff roster in the West. It's just not. They're going to have to get better. So overall, I do understand that this is early season action, but a lot could be said when you're looking at the number 2s and the 3s and so on and so forth. And we knew this. When the Bucks missed off when they missed out on Bogdanovic, when they missed him in that whole trade and let him go to Atlanta, it was kind of like, dang, it's not a big deal now, but it will become a big deal. And I think it's starting to become a big deal because that was a shooter that they could have really, really used. That's what they could have used last night. Even though Chris Middleton, he did his thing, not going to knock it. But that guy could have been a shooter off the bench that you could have really used. This game shouldn't have been that close last night. But if you can't make shots and free throws, this is what you get. But it's early in the season. I got it. But my overall takeaway is you got to get more. Dallas got to get more from Porzingis. Can we get more Porzingis? That's not it. And the Bucks, they're gonna have to find a way to up that scoring. Because last night, if you played a better team last night, you lose that game. You lose that game if you're playing I don't know, the Clippers, Lakers, the Suns. If you play the Suns, you probably lose that game. It's just you got to be able to close it out better than that. But it's early in the season, so we'll see where both teams go from here.
Yeah, you don't want to draw too many conclusions too quickly out of some early regular season action like this. I will say off the cuff, I don't want to be too unfair to Kristaps Porzingis. I think in totality, some of the reservations we probably have about him, there's good reasoning behind him. But this was only his second game of the season as he comes back from whatever injury it is this time. But that type of performance is not what you need. If ever Dallas gets the full scale Porzingis with it's almost Kevin Durant to another degree, because Porzingis is 7'3" and yet he has guard like skills. Whenever we get the full Porzingis, if we ever get that, Dallas will be a serious problem, because we know how much of a problem Luka is by himself, because he showed us last year against the Clippers in the playoffs. He made that a series, predominantly by himself. Still not there's a lot of nice things Dallas has, around him, but it's just outside of Porzingis, there's nothing that like gets you like ultra excited. I mean, the next best thing they have is Tim Hardaway, who can just, get scorching hot, for these short stints in a game. And then, he's also got the disappearing act he'll pull from time to time. But that's the question for Dallas. That their success will be determined by how much Porzingis they get. They get a lot of Porzingis, they're going to be a lot more fun to watch, and they'll be a threat, I think, to whoever. They'll there's not you wouldn't pick them against, maybe the Lakers and Clippers, but anybody else, you'd probably say they got a really good shot against these teams. But for the Bucks, though, I'm, probably 9-4. It seems like, probably they're a little bit behind the pace from probably the last 2 years, but they have went in somewhat of a different direction. I still like the Drew Holiday thing over Eric Bledsoe. It just has a better feel to it. He's off to a fairly good start, 15 points, 5 assists, and he's shooting a pretty high percentage, shooting about 43% from three. And we all know that that's something Eric Bledsoe will not give you, as we all know. I've seen enough of that. I will say about the free throw shooting from both sides is just something that stands out. I don't know how you have two professional NBA teams come out there, and both teams, forget the individual performances for just a second, both of these teams shot under 50% from the free throw line. So not only is it a situation where you look at, a player here and a player there and say, like, what are you doing? I don't know if I could. Yeah, I probably could go 1 for 10 trying, but that's hard. That's hard to be that bad. And Giannis, it's a situation where he hasn't always been this bad of a free throw shooter, and yet it's just continued to deteriorate. And something you think that would just take some level of focus and some level of consistent work, and you could stabilize that. And no one's asking you to shoot 80, 85%, but you'd like to be 70% or somewhere around that. That's somewhat acceptable for an MVP. So that's something I think if the Bucks are gonna if they're going to make that run that I still think they're capable of, coming out of the East and challenging for an NBA title. That's a hole that teams are going to exploit. When you're that dominant of a player, you're going to get fouled. And if you can't take advantage, then that's just a knock on your efficiency. And then it slows the game down and your teammates get out of rhythm. But speaking of teammates, we criticize Chris Middleton from time to time, and rightly so. But Chris Middleton, if you take a look at it, he's off to a scorching start. He's giving you 22 points in just 32 minutes. He's on that 50-40-90, and he's above the pace. He could fall back a little bit. 53% from the field, 47% from deep, and I believe he got 95% from the free throw line, giving you 6 rebounds, giving you 6 assists. So he's off to a splendid start. And I don't know if this is necessarily sustainable, but if Chris Middleton is going to play on this level, remember the whole probably the Chris Middleton, out of all the duos that we talked about, he was the least impressive Robin to the Batman act. This is a more impressive thing that we're seeing. If he can play somewhat like this, then I think we got the Bucks are going to be, it's the same old as the last 2 seasons. They'll be a dominant force in the Eastern Conference. And the one thing we talked about this from time to time last season as well. The Bucks, they never appeared to have that, that tough guy, that guy with that dog in him, the Marcus Morris, or like that the Clippers had, and Marcus Smart for the Boston Celtics. Um, I think it's worth keeping an eye on a guy like Bobby Portis, who comes with a little bit of that mean streak. Can get in the paint, get probably a little bit more than Brook Lopez, who's evolved into more of a perimeter player, but he can get really battle on the boards, get some tough putbacks for you. I think Bobby Portis
punch you in the face, all that.
That's right, punching. Yeah, sometimes a mean streak towards the wrong teammates. I guess that's why Nikola Mirotic still over there in Europe playing ball or whatever. He got scared, but I think he's worth it. And keep in mind this: I know the Bogdanovich trade, when that fell through, that seemed to be kind of oh man, they missed out on this guy. But it also, you remember when we were projecting what that team would look like with him on the roster, it vaporized their depth. Now you look at this team in totality, and there's I think there's still a lot to like, coming off the bench. You still able to keep DiVincenzo. You still got Pat Connaughton. Now you got Portis. You got DJ Augustine. He's an underrated guy. Been he's one of the most reliable backup point guards, for years now in this league. And they got Bryn Forbes, who's a great shooter that they got from the Spurs. And they got Torrey Craig down on this roster too, who's got an injury right now that he's dealing with. So there's still a lot here and a lot for Mike Budenholzer to work with. And I think the Bucks are going to be fine.
Yeah, they definitely seem all right. You look at one of the things we have to consider for the East in general is the East is back. The East is the better conference this year, most likely. You've got your three-headed monster with Brooklyn. The Boston Celtics are playing great ball. You still have the Bucks. You've got pretty much all your usual suspects, plus teams like Charlotte and the Knicks. They're both like. The whole conference has come up for the most part. There's very few teams that have really slid back, and a lot of the stars have left LeBron's side of the thing, and they've came to the East. I have no idea why that'd be, but hey, whatever. So 9-4. Hey, man, you take 9-4 in this East. Now, a couple years ago, when it was still, everyone was messing around, whatever. The thing about the Bucks, really, it comes down to Giannis, and these little things like making your free throws and not turning the ball over and making your right decision. This is the difference than having a championship and just being another second round exit or a conference finals, exit. 1 for 10 is atrocious. That cannot happen. Both teams shot poorly, but the Bucks would have been 11 of 15 without Giannis. So, it was more on him, the Mavericks more as a team. But it's the little things, man. When you're a superstar, you're an MVP, and you're the guy, and the whole team builds around you, and they break the bank and they break rosters for you. You've got to do little things like this. It's fine. 30 points, 30 minutes. That's fantastic, man. But come the playoffs, that may not be enough because they got anyone can be hack-a-shacked, especially someone like you. So that's the kind of stuff I just can't fathom with professional basketball players, that free throws or something that are just this big of a hangnail and continue to be for years and years. Like, what are you doing with your off time? I don't get it. So clean that up. The Bucks will be fine. And then for the Mavericks. Something, man. And for the Mavericks, I'll say they were my kind of like one of my favorite picks this year, in the West. But I did caveat they were going to need to make a trade for that to be real, and I still believe that. I think that if I see Porzingis gets back, he gets stronger, he gets healthier, they start ranking a little bit of a run, they start getting in a rhythm. Hey, if I'm Dallas, I'm picking the phone up, I'm trading some picks, I'm trading some of these other guys on this roster because my estimation, the rest of this roster, they can go at any time. I can switch these guys out whenever, I think the Mavericks are a move away from being a serious contender because right now I think they're about a little bit above 500. They're probably like a 6 or a 7 seed right now. Make a trade, and this can still be a dangerous team. But I think they're going to have to do something besides what they have right now because what they got right now ain't going to be enough.